Welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of big news to share with you here today. We're going to start off with this story that you see here on your screen, as Taiwan allegedly sent Ukraine surplus Hawk surface-to-air missile defense systems. Now, this is a huge report that just came out today that Taiwan has non-publicly transferred these surplus Hawk surface-to-air missile defense systems to Ukraine through U.S. mediation. Okay, Forbes magazine was also reporting this today, that apparently these were sent through the U.S. and mediated to transfer over to Ukraine, so they weren't directly transferred from Taiwan. But apparently Ukraine did receive these air defense systems, and apparently up to 15 batteries were sent. And we have reports dating back as far as July 2023 and even January of this year that there could have been multiple transfers of these batteries over to Ukraine. Okay, so Ukraine already does have these Hawk surface-to-air missile defense systems from other nations. Even in Europe has sent these over, but apparently Taiwan has as well. Okay, so that's big news, as we've never really heard of Taiwan supporting Ukraine directly, but looks like they may have sent these through U.S. mediation on over to Ukraine. Okay, so we'll talk about that some more today. I also have some updates regarding the Kharkov Dam that we talked about yesterday being destroyed inside of the Donetsk region of Ukraine. We've got video footage now coming out showing that dam being destroyed, so I'll show you guys that video footage here in just a little bit. Also, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Paris right now making statements with Emmanuel Macron and talking about this war with Ukraine. I have some video footage coming out from there and how NATO's going to start stepping up and supplying more weaponry over to Ukraine to back them, as obviously Ukraine is struggling right now. So I'll show you guys some video footage coming out here in just a little bit from that also. And in the Kursk region of Russia, apparently the Russians are suffering major losses right now. They have been launching waves of attacks against the Ukrainians, trying to push them out. I reported to you guys yesterday also that Vladimir Putin apparently ordered the troops to push Ukraine out of the Kursk region by January 20th before Donald Trump is inaugurated. So we're going to go over some of those details in regards to Russian losses, that they are apparently taking on massive amounts of losses in the Kursk region of Russia, okay? So we're going to go ahead and hop into the news. We're going to start off with this report here from Taiwan News. U.S. reportedly transfers Taiwan's MIM-23 Hawk missiles to Ukraine. Missiles transferred to Ukraine via Worldwide Warehouse Redistribution Service, okay? So this is the service that was used to transfer them to Ukraine through U.S. mediation. And we're going to go over this article briefly real quick, and then we'll jump on over to X, okay? So Taiwan's U.S.-made MIM-23 Hawk air defense systems have reportedly been transferred to Ukraine. In an interview on the YouTube channel RJ War Room, former U.S. Department of Defense official Tony Hu mentioned the transfer while discussing the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems, or NASAMS, package sale to Taiwan. This confirms reports in July 2023 and January that Taiwan's MIM-23 Hawk medium-range surface-to-air missile systems would be sent to Ukraine. Okay, so it looks like Ukraine for sure did receive these, maybe multiple packages being sent over to Ukraine. Who said that Taiwan sought the more advanced NASAMS to replace the Hawk system because the latter has semi-active radar homing and could be rendered ineffective with jamming? Who said that the older Hawk missiles can still be effective against modern threats such as drones, and combined with Patriot systems and newer missiles with active radar homing? However, he said that faced with China's advanced fighter jets and drones, Taiwan needed an upgrade to NASAMS. Okay, so that's apparently the major reason why they sent these over to Ukraine, was that they were going to be upgrading to the NASAMS air defense system. And they decided to get rid of the Hawk air defense systems and send them over to Ukraine, as they still could be useful, apparently, to the Ukrainians, okay? He said that Taiwan has acquired the latest, most capable version of NASAMS, giving Taiwan a true multi-layered defense. Who explained that Ukraine obtained Taiwan's retired Hawk systems through the U.S. Air Force's Worldwide Warehouse Redistribution Service, which redistributes surplus weapons acquired from one foreign country to another. We put it in a catalog, and then friendly countries can say, I want this, and the U.S. will work the transfer, explained Hu. Okay, so you can see how Ukraine was able to get these now. They listed this in the worldwide warehouse redistribution service. Ukraine was able to order them apparently through this service, and Taiwan transferred it from U.S. mediation over to Ukraine. Okay. So now we're going to hop on over to X, and I've got more information to share with you guys over here. Here's the official report also from Forbes. It says here from next, Taiwan has non-publicly transferred surplus Hawk surface-to-air missile systems to Ukraine through U.S. mediation. According to Forbes, Taiwan, perhaps without much publicity, has become one of the main saviors of the Ukrainian Air Force, according to former Pentagon official Tony Hu. The island gave the Ukrainian Air Force surplus batteries of Hawk anti-aircraft missiles. The article said Kiev could receive up to 15 such batteries, each equipped with at least 6 launchers with 3 missiles each. Okay, so 15 batteries, guys. Quite a bit being sent over to Ukraine. It says here Taiwan may have rearmed Ukraine's air defense force. There are more indications Taipei sent Kiev a huge consignment of Hawk systems. Okay, and as you can see, this was dated just today, November 12th, 2024. So big update coming from Taiwan, apparently transferring these over to Ukraine. Okay, so major upgrade for Ukraine's air defense systems. Apparently, they've got multiples of those, over a dozen of those batteries right now. Okay, so also Jurgen Nodit reports the Russians are destroying the entire infrastructure of Ukraine while Europe watches. The moment of the explosion of the Kharkiv Dam, the mass media published yesterday, water from the Kharkiv reservoir filled the Vovcha River in the direction of the villages of Bogatyr, Andriivka, and Oleksivka. The local authorities assure that Kharkovo is not threatened by water, and most of the civilians of the villages in the affected area were evacuated in advance. So there is no sound in this video, but we'll go ahead and let this roll and pay attention right here. This is where the dam is at. You're going to see this thing explode right now. There it is. And if you notice, it almost kind of looks like this was a controlled demolition. Let me go back again one more time and let you rewatch this. Here, let's kind of go back right there. So take a look at this. Look closely. Whenever this thing explodes, it looks like there's an explosion here, and then the explosion goes out the side over here as well. So supposedly this was hit by some sort of shelling. Maybe it was shelling. It happened so quickly, it's really hard to tell, but let me know what you think down below. Do you think this was some sort of controlled demolition? If so, maybe was this Ukraine that did this? Because there was a lot of talk yesterday when we discussed this topic that Ukraine may have blown this dam here to maybe prevent the Russians from coming into this area, or maybe this was Russia doing this to create havoc and chaos over here and flood multiple cities nearby, okay, or small villages. So apparently there has been some flooding that has been reported in this area, several other villages nearby. But yeah, that was the video footage coming out today, so pretty crazy. Again, we don't know for sure if this was shelling or some type of controlled demolition, but let me know what you think down below and what you see right there, okay? So now moving on to War Translated Dimitri. The Telegraph writes, the British Prime Minister Starmer is pressuring Biden for $20 billion for Kiev and permission to strike Russia. This is part of the $50 billion package that the G7 countries agreed on for Ukraine back in June. The U.S. promised to provide $20 billion, but has not yet done so. Europe is concerned that after January 20th, Trump may force Ukraine to give up the occupied territories for the sake of a peace deal. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy is also expected to raise the issue of fulfilling financial obligations at a meeting of G7 foreign ministers in Rome this month. Okay, so clearly Ukraine and some European partners right now are panicking about Donald Trump getting into office, that he may halt a lot of the aid going over to Ukraine. So we have been hearing a lot from Keir Starmer, even also Emmanuel Macron from France, both of these presidents and prime minister, that they're trying to fast track aid over to Ukraine. We even heard this from Joe Biden. Joe Biden supposedly going to fast track $6 billion in aid over to Ukraine as well, and they're trying to do this as quickly as possible before Donald Trump gets in. If you also notice here, they are trying to get permission to lift strikes inside of Russia and allow Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory. So we'll see if that comes. But apparently they're pushing for a $20 billion aid package over to Ukraine very soon as well. So you can see that clearly they are trying their best to get as much aid over to Ukraine as possible. And we even heard recently Volodymyr Zelensky calling for the $300 billion in frozen Russian assets that are sitting in banks across Europe to give that over to Ukraine. So Ukraine's trying to secure whatever aid they can right now before Trump gets in, okay? Also, from Anton Gerashenko, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte explaining in clear terms why Russia's strengthening alliance with Iran and North Korea presents a grave danger to the world. This is not a local conflict. This is fundamental. So this is a 1.5-minute video of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte speaking in Paris, and him talking about how the alliance between Iran and North Korea and Russia is growing, and it's a major threat not only to Ukraine and Europe, but to the entire world, including the United States. So go ahead and take a look at what he has to say.
Russia continues its onslaught against Ukraine, all the while drawing ever closer to its allies, China and Iran and North Korea. After delivering ammunition and ballistic missiles, North Korea has now sent troops to fight and die alongside Russia in its illegal war. In return, Russia provides North Korea with funding and missile technology. This is very concerning. These missiles present a direct threat to the United States mainland, to Europe, to the Indo-Pacific, and to the wider Euro-Atlantic. And when I say the Indo-Pacific, that includes South Korea and Japan. Every day, Ukrainians are killed and wounded by the deadly Shahed drones, designed and supplied by Iran. With the money gained from arms sales to Russia, Iran and its proxies destabilize the Middle East and fund terrorism further afield. At the same time, China backs Russia's economy, enables its defense industry, and amplifies its narrative on the world stage. Russia, working together with North Korea, Iran and China, is not only threatening Europe, it threatens peace and security, yes, here in Europe, but also in the Indo-Pacific and in North America.
Okay, we can see here from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte coming out and saying that not only is Europe threatened by this alliance of Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, but also the Indo-Pacific and even the United States. So some people come out and say, well, NATO's not doing enough. They just come out and talk, especially Mark Rutte, and they don't make any action. Well, in some ways, it may start with these types of statements before we see some sort of action. And it looks like, according to Mark Rutte, the way he's been coming out and speaking lately, he may actually start implementing some sort of action. I mean, he's already been calling for increasing defense spending within NATO. And when Jens Stoltenberg was in, he would talk about that here and there, but there wasn't really a whole lot of pressure behind that. So we'll see what NATO plans to do moving forward. But this was some of his statements today while he was speaking in Paris. Okay, I've got one more video to show you also of him speaking. From United 24 Media, NATO Chief Mark Rutte, we must do more than just keep Ukraine in the fight. We need to raise the cost for Putin and his enabling authoritarian friends by providing Ukraine with the support it needs to change the trajectory of the conflict. So this is only 21 seconds long. Take a look at what he has to say.
We must recommit to staying the course for the long haul. And we must do more than just keep Ukraine in the fight. We need to raise the cost for Putin and his enabling authoritarian friends by providing Ukraine with the support it needs to change the trajectory of the conflict.
Okay, so there you go. Him coming out and saying that they need to change the trajectory of the conflict. So what is that going to entail? Is it going to be more weapons sent over to Ukraine, or what else is going to happen over here? I mean, the biggest thing to me is long-range strikes inside of Russia. Obviously, that is being talked about a lot right now, but we'll see what NATO plans to do moving forward, aside from just sending weaponry over to Ukraine, okay? So also, from War Translated Dimitri, France will send 6 Mirage 2005F multi-role fighters to Ukraine in early 2025. Previously, it was 3 fighters. By the end of 2024, France will also supply a total of 600 AASM, which are Hammer guided aerial bombs, to Ukraine. The country's defense ministry will increase AASM production with the plan to produce 1,200 bombs by 2025, in particular with further replenish Ukraine's stockpile. Okay, so major support coming from France. We've been hearing about these Mirage 2005F multi-role fighter jets going to be going over to Ukraine. So early 2025, they're going to be receiving 6 of these. And then also, by the end of this year, 600 AASM Hammer guided aerial bombs. Okay, so big update coming out from France. Also, from Max 24, Ukraine has been building on its victory plan for the incoming Trump administration, highlighting potential business deals, access to raw materials, and troop deployments in an effort to sway the famously transactional U.S. president elect, according to the Financial Times. Two of the ideas were laid out in Zelensky's victory plan, with Trump specifically in mind, according to people involved in drawing it up. One idea would replace some U.S. troops stationed in Europe with Ukrainian forces after the war. The other suggests sharing Ukraine's critical natural resources with Western partners. Trump was interested in the 2 points, according to a person briefed on the meeting. So it looks like Ukraine is trying to do the best they can to show support for the United States, and I guess kind of not appear as if they're just taking everything for free and everything for granted. They want to also allocate their own resources to help out NATO and help out the U.S. as well. So that's why he was saying that in his victory plan, they would replace some U.S. troops stationed in Europe. And then also a big one coming out today is natural resources, okay? So natural resources inside Ukraine being shared with the United States could potentially sway Donald Trump, and maybe he would support Ukraine more when it comes to these negotiations versus making it appear as if he's only supportive of Russia. As we've heard that the war could be frozen at the current battle lines that have been drawn right now, a demilitarized zone being created in eastern Ukraine, and Russia could potentially be able to keep the territories on the eastern side of Ukraine that have already been captured. Now, will that happen? We don't know the full plan until Donald Trump gets into office in January, but we'll find out some information on that very soon. Okay, also from Glasnost Gone, Kremlin's now reduced to conning Russians into dying for Putin in Ukraine. Fake vacancies are advertised for jobs like drone assembly engineers, but when men sign a contract for these non-military jobs, they've actually signed up to join the Russian army. So there's multiple reports coming out today that apparently the Kremlin has been creating some fake jobs that Russians will go and sign up for, and then I guess maybe there could be some fine print or something that allegedly signs them up for the Russian military when they maybe thought they were signing up for just some sort of job that did not involve the military. So that was some huge news coming out today that apparently the Kremlin is doing that. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think the Kremlin is doing something like this to con Russian residents to sign up for jobs that they think are not involved in the military, but then all of a sudden they find out they've been enlisted to go fight in the war against Ukraine? Pretty crazy news, right? Okay, also from Jay in Kiev, we thought yesterday's record Russian troops losses was something until today. So take a look at this. This came out just today, November 12, 2024. Some of the losses that's been reported. Personnel alone, almost 2,000 losses from the Russian side. Also tanks, 23 losses. Armored personnel vehicles, 81. Okay, guys, so the average is somewhere around 1,500 a day that's been reported that the Russians are losing. Yesterday, they lost almost 2,000 troops, okay? Many of these probably inside the Kursk region, obviously also in eastern Ukraine, but we are hearing of lots of reports of heavy losses in the Kursk region. I'm going to show you guys that information right now. Euromaidan Press reports Ukraine's forces are pushing back against Russian assaults as apocalyptic fight unfolds in the Kursk Oblast. Ukrainian brigades are destroying Russian equipment almost as fast as it arrives, creating entire cemeteries of armored vehicles. So look at that, guys. Big news. I mean, apparently, according to this information, these assaults from these Russians are looking really bad as they're losing lots of equipment and troops, okay? Also from War Monitor, Russian forces are launching huge counteroffensive operations in the Kursk region. Ukrainian forces are destroying huge amounts of equipment and manpower in the process. The battles are described as cruel and relentless. Okay, so even more reports of Ukrainian forces destroying large amounts of equipment and manpower while these Russian forces are launching major counteroffensive operations in the Kursk region. Okay, also from Special Kherson Cat to Deep State about today's massive Russian attacks on the Kursk front. Up to 300 Russians were killed or injured. 5 enemy assaults on Novo-Ivanivka in Kursk region were repulsed. It was an extremely difficult day near the village of Novo-Ivanivka, where Russians tried to jump into the village and its surrounding 5 times at once. A total of 29 units of armored vehicles were involved. The first 3 rounds of 7 armored vehicles each. The remaining 2 were 4 armored vehicles each. At least 18 armored vehicles out of 29 were destroyed. It is difficult to calculate the number of the dead and wounded Russians, but the number may reach up to 300 people, guys. 300. Okay. Of course, some of them got stuck in landings or escaped. Today was definitely a black day for Russians. Okay. This was being reported just as of yesterday. Okay. So definitely these attacks inside the Kursk region from the Russians are apparently not going very well. We have heard some reports of some small gains from the Russians as they carry on these counteroffensive actions, but also at the same time, some of the Ukrainians are making some gains in the Kursk region as well. Okay, we reported that yesterday. Okay, also from War Translator Dmitry, Russians are preparing to storm Ukrainian positions in Zaporizhia, says Vladislav Voloshin, spokesman for the Southern Defense Forces. These assault actions could put new pressure on the Ukrainian military, which is already in a difficult situation in the east. It is unclear whether Russia will try to launch another large-scale offensive or whether the attacks will be localized. Voloshin added that Russian troops in the area far outnumber Ukrainian defenders. Okay, so I've been reporting this to you guys a lot over the last couple weeks that the Zaporizhia region, it looks like the Russians are preparing a major offensive. And the reason why I wanted to show you this information today is Voloshin adding that the Russian troops in this area far outnumber Ukrainian defenders. Okay, so if they decide to launch a massive attack, and we've been hearing upwards of 200,000 Russian troops could be in the Zaporizhia region preparing to launch a major attack. Apparently, the Ukrainians don't have enough troops to defend against these attacks. We do know that they have been heavily fortifying this area. This is the city of Zaporizhia right here. This is where the Russian troops are. They're not too far away from it, okay? This is definitely going to be a tough fight in the south, while at the same time the Eastern Front is already suffering. Also in the Kursk region, Ukraine is still holding on, but they definitely have lost some territory up there as well. So it's going to get pretty crazy over here in Ukraine very soon once all these offensives start going off all at the same time. Okay, also from Liskovka, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine has signed a contract with the Finnish company ICEI, I think is how you pronounce that. Military will have high precision satellite images of the battlefield. Now the command will be able to independently identify priority surveillance areas and quickly receive up-to-date data via the satellite system. The deal was made possible thanks to the support of German government and Rheinmetall, which is a party to the contract. So Rheinmetall is a major supporter for Ukraine. I think they've even opened up some manufacturing warehouses inside of Ukraine recently. They supply lots of armored vehicles like IFVs, infantry fighting vehicles over to Ukraine. And apparently they have teamed up with a Finnish company called ICEI. And I pulled this up here for you guys on Wikipedia in case you're not familiar with this company. It says ICEI is a Finnish microsatellite manufacturer and operator. ICEI was founded in 2014 and is now the largest synthetic aperture imaging radar constellation. Okay, so they manufacture and operate microsatellites. So it looks like we could be getting some satellite imagery for Ukraine where they could have updated satellite images and be able to maybe strike targets more accurately inside of eastern Ukraine, also maybe even in Russia at some point, if that happens to be a thing in the near future. So major upgrade for Ukraine in terms of satellite technology. Okay, also from Max24, Germany will hold its federal snap election on Sunday, February 23rd, 2025, according to Politico. Olaf Scholz is expected to hold a vote of confidence before Christmas, paving the way for the new election in February. His fractious three-party coalition collapsed last week after several months of rising acrimony due to sharp disagreements on spending and how to stimulate Germany's ailing economy. Okay, so this is a picture of Olaf Scholz. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is yesterday I let you guys know that the man by the name Friedrich Merz, who is currently running for chancellor to replace Olaf Scholz, came out yesterday and said that he would deliver an ultimatum to Vladimir Putin if he is elected as soon as next year. And he would let Vladimir Putin know that he needs to end this war within 24 hours or they would potentially send Taurus missiles, which have been forbidden by Germany to be sent over to Ukraine. According to Olaf Scholz, throughout the duration of this war, they have chosen not to send them. Well, Friedrich Merz would send them over to Ukraine and also potentially lift the permission for Ukraine to strike inside of Russia using these Taurus missiles. Okay, so looks like this could be coming as soon as February, maybe March of next year. If Friedrich Merz ends up being elected, he will definitely send that ultimatum over to Vladimir Putin. And I just wanted to give you an update on that. Looks like this will be potentially coming sooner than expected, as we heard the elections could have been held in March. Looks like maybe even in February. Okay. So also moving on to more updates here from Military News UA. The naval forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine received the Swedish CB-90 high-speed assault armored boats. Okay, so here's a picture of these boats here. And apparently, Ukraine received a bunch of these, which will upgrade their naval capacity as well. As Ukraine obviously doesn't have much of a navy, looks like they got a bunch of these armored boats from Sweden. Okay, multiple sources were sharing this today on X. Finally, one last thing to share with you, Max24. Donald Trump is likely to pick Florida Senator Marco Rubio as his Secretary of State. I think this is already for the most part confirmed. According to CNN, I am not on the side of Russia, but unfortunately the reality is that the war in Ukraine will only end through negotiations. And we want, and I believe Donald Trump wants Ukraine to have more leverage and a stronger position in these negotiations. He said, okay, this came out from Marco Rubio. He's currently a senator from Florida. And yeah, so he came out saying this, that they want to allow Ukraine to have more leverage and a stronger position before they go into negotiations. And he believes that the only way this war will end with Ukraine and Russia is through negotiations. So we know that the negotiations are most likely going to start coming, or at least Donald Trump and his team are going to push for Ukraine to negotiate with Russia. We'll see. So we'll see what happens with that. But this was a statement coming out from Senator Marco Rubio, and he is likely to be selected, if not already selected, as Secretary of State for the United States under the Trump administration. Okay, so just wanted to give you guys some updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine today, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.